When I was filming at Astley Green in 1969 and 1970, I had a whole bunch of opportunities to ride in the cab of the Austerity steam engines working there. So it was great fun to climb back into the cab of this Austerity with Steven Oakden at the Embassy Steam Railway.
Right, okay, so we're going to go onto the footplate now and into the cab and have a look at the controls on the locomotive.
Matt Hainsworth was looking after the Loco and showed us around.
Basically, reverser, forward and reverse. Currently it's sat in mid-gear. Cylinder drain taps, so they'll let the water out of the cylinders in the morning, and any time during the day, basically, when you've got too much water build up. If you get too much water build up in the cylinders, the engine can hydraulic, you can blow cylinder end covers, all sorts of damage can be done. Regulator, which emits steam into the cylinders. As built, they should have the brake valve should be here, and with a link bar across, so they can be basically, you can operate them from either side. This engine has got has had this steam brake retrofitted to it, which basically it's controlled by the vacuum system as well, so when you drop the vacuum it also puts the steam brake on. The biggest thing with them is that you've got to remember that they are colliery engines and you can't go flying around the countryside with them. They do a lot of the things at their own pace, but they'll pull what you want, and as long as you look after them, treat them right, they'll do the job.
The other bits you got here are the gauge glass.
Yeah.
Telling us what the water is, right?
Yeah. We try and run it about 7/8 of a glass.
So what does that mean?
So basically you run with the water about here, so you can see where it is. You can run it with a bit more, but you end up with issues of priming if it is overfilled. If you do have a sharp break, the water all surges to the front of the boiler and you can get the crown being exposed.
The crown being the top of the firebox?
Yeah, we've got these longitudinal stays. Roughly your crown is around that level there.
I'd like just to explain the relationship between the gauge glass, the water in the boiler, and the top of the firebox. Let's say this is a boiler, steam engine boiler, and here we have an inner firebox. So this is the outer boiler shell and this is the inner firebox shell, and running forward from the firebox are a bunch of tubes, and they run to the front tube plate here and then up the chimney and away. Now in here, the fire in the firebox burning up the coal, and then in the boiler we have a level of water that runs across the top. This is the top of the firebox here, that runs across the top of the firebox and fills in all this space right down, keeping the firebox cool and also generating steam, which then goes up and out to the cylinders. What we then have here is a water gauge. Sometimes it comes off the boiler like this and it comes out here, and then you have, so these are two metal bits, and then you have the gauge glass here. This is a metal, this is the bottom nut that holds the gauge glass in, that's the top nut, and in that gauge glass you get a representation of the water level here, so that you can see what's in, how deep the water is in the boiler. You never want that water in the boiler to go down below this bottom nut here on the water gauge, because then it'll expose the top of the firebox, and the top of the firebox has a lead core in it, and that lead core will melt and steam will come out and indicate to you, if you're firing the locomotive, that there's a problem at the top of the firebox. If that doesn't happen, then this top of the firebox could collapse and the boiler will blow up.
There's a bit of a myth that the fusel plug will put a fire out. You basically, it'll just warn you the crown's been exposed, fill the boiler up and get the fire out of it. Firing wise, currently we've got a fairly black fire in there. On the run, you normally have a horseshoe round the back, and then just keep firing to the middle at the front corners. On average, probably using about 1.5 tons of coal a day with a 5-coach train on a five round trips.
So how would that compare to another engine?
It works out roughly about the same. When you go to try and making them pull 6, that's when the tipping balance seems to be here, that the 56 will be more economical. But up to 5 coaches, I would say this just pips the post.
Yeah.
With it economic wise.
A lot of collieries, the actual trip that they were doing would be done on one fire, and normally the engines had a massive fire put on at the start of the run. They'd just keep shoveling coal in, but the engines would steam very well on that, they'd stand it, and of course they were working so hard to be in main valve that the blast on the fire was pulling the air through the fire bed. So even with the thick coal bed on, you get the air through that thick coal bed, and it'll burn really fiercely, and they'll get the steam. And it was pretty rare, in my experience, to see the engines getting short of steam.
I've got a question for you, Matt, and that is, how did you get so dirty before you even dropped the steam engine?
It just attracts to me. My name here and at work is Matt Black. I just seem to be a muck magnet. Any dirt that's surrounding it usually ends up on me somehow or another.
In part 3 of this series, I'll describe a trip I made up to Craig Merthyr Colliery in 1975. This was a 3-mile trip with a heavy load on a single firing of coal with one of these Austerities. Then I'll catch a train to Bolton Abbey to meet Russell Walker, who's restoring Respite, an engine featured in my Astley Green series. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.